What's up, buddies? And buddy girls. Today we're going to continue reading our League of Legends lore. If you watched my last video, you know that I did Annie and Ash, and Aurelion Sol was supposed to be on there, but I recorded it going off of the lore in the game, and apparently that's not the whole lore for Aurelion Sol. So we're gonna go based off of the website instead, because it's much longer. Aurelion Sol, the Star Forger. Cower, worship, marvel. They are all appropriate responses. Aurelion Sol once graced the vast emptiness of the cosmos with celestial wonders of his own devising. Now he is forced to wield his awesome power at the behest of a spacefaring empire that tricked him into servitude, desiring a return to his star-forging ways. Aurelion Sol will drag the very stars from the sky, if he must, in order to regain his freedom. The appearance of a comet often portends a period of upheaval and unrest. Under the auspices of such fiery harbingers, it is said that new empires rise, old civilizations fall, and even the stars themselves may tumble from the sky. These theories merely scratch the surface of a far more bizarre truth, that the comet's radiance cloaks a cosmic being of unfathomable power. The being now known as Aurelion Sol was already ancient by the time stellar debris first coalesced into worlds. Born in the first breath of creation, he roamed the vast nothingness, seeking to fill a canvas of incalculable breadth with marvels whose twinkling spectra brought him considerable delight and pride. A celestial dragon is an exotic creature, and as such, Aurelion Sol seldom encountered any equals. As more forms of life emerged to fill the universe, a multitude of primitive eyes gazed up and beheld his work with wonder and breathless pondering. Flattered by this audience of countless worlds, he became fascinated by their fledgling civilizations, who crafted amusingly self-centered philosophies on the nature of his stars. Desiring a deeper connection with one of the few races he deemed worthy, the cosmic dragon selected the most ambitious species to grace with his presence. These chosen few sought to unravel the secrets of the universe, and had already expanded beyond their home planet. Many verses were composed about the day the Star Forger descended to a tiny world and announced his presence to the Targonians. An immense storm of stars filled the skies and twisted into a massive form, as marvelous as it was terrifying. Cosmic wonder swirled and twinkled throughout the creature's body. New stars shone brightly, and constellations rearranged at his whim. Appropriately awed by his illuminant powers, the Targonians tilted the dragon Aurelion Sol and presented him with a gift as a token of respect. A splendorous crown of star gems which he promptly donned. Before long, though, boredom drew Aurelion Sol back to his work. In the fertile vastness of space. However, the further from the reach of that tiny world he traveled, the more he felt a grasping at his very essence, pulling him off his path, directing him elsewhere. He could hear voices shouting, commanding from across the cosmic expanse. The gift he'd received was no gift at all, it seemed. Outraged, he fought these controlling impulses and attempted to break his bonds by force, only to discover that for each attack against his newfound masters, one of his stars vanished forever from the firmament. A powerful magic now yoked Aurelion Sol, forcing him to wield his powers exclusively for Targon's benefit. He battled Chitonius, beast that tore at the fabric of this universe. He clashed with other cosmic entities, some of which he had known since the dawn of time. For millennia, he fought Targon's war, crushed any threats to its dominance, and helped it forge a star-spanning empire. All of these tasks were a waste of his sublime talents. After all, it was he who birthed light into the universe. Why must he pander to such lowly beings? As his past glory slowly vanished from the celestial realm for lack of maintenance, Aurelion Sol resigned himself to never again bask in the warmth of a freshly ignited star. Then he felt it, a weakening in his unwilling pact. The voices from the crown grew sporadic, clashing, arguing with each other while some fell ominously silent. An unknown catastrophe he could not fathom had thrown off the balance of those who bound him. They were scattered and distracted. Hope crept into his heart. Driven by the tantalizing possibility of impending freedom, Aurelion Sol arrives on the world where it all began, Runeterra. It is here the balance will finally tip in his favor, and with it, civilizations across the stars shall bear witness to his rebellion and again play audience to his might. All will learn what fate befalls those who strive to steal for themselves the power of a cosmic dragon. That sort of reminded me of Game of Thrones, because the Targonians, or whatever the hell it was called for Aurelion Sol. So it looks like we will only be doing 2 today as well, This is another long lore. Azir, arisen. Azir walked the gold-paved emperor's way. The immense statues of Shurima's earliest rulers, his ancestors, watched his progress. The soft, shadowy light of pre-dawn seeped through the city. The brightest stars still shone overhead, though they would soon be snuffed out by the rising sun. The night sky was not as Azir remembered it. The stars and the constellations were misaligned. Millennia had passed. With every step, Azir's heavy staff of office struck a lonely note, echoing through the capital's empty streets. When last he had walked this path, an honor guard of 10,000 elite warriors had marched in his wake, and the cheers of the crowd had shaken the city. It was to have been his moment of glory, yet it had been stolen from him. Now, it was a city of ghosts. What had become of his people? With an imperious gesture, Azir commanded the sands beside the roadway to rise, creating living statues. This was a vision of the past, the echoes of Shurima given form. The sand figures looked forward, heads tilted toward the immense sun disk hanging above the dais of ascension, half a league ahead. It hung there still, declaring the glory and power of Azir's empire, though no one remained to see it. The daughter of a Shurima who awakened him, she who bore his lineage, was gone. He sensed her out in the desert. Blood bound them together. As Azir walked the Emperor's way, the sand echoes of his people pointed up at the sun disk, their joyful expressions turning to horror. Mouths open wide in silent screams, they turned to run, stumbling and falling. Azir watched this all in despairing silence, bearing witness to the last moments of his people. They were obliterated by a wave of unseen energy, reduced to dust and cast to the winds. What had gone wrong with his ascension to unleash this catastrophe? Azir's focus narrowed. His march became more resolute. He reached the base of the stairs of ascension and began to climb, taking them 5 at a time. Only his most trusted soldiers, the priesthood, and those of the royal bloodline were allowed to step foot upon the stairs. Sand versions of these most favored subjects lined his path, faces upturned, grimacing and wailing in silence before they too were swept away by the winds. He ran, taking the steps faster than any man could, talons digging into the stonework, carving furrows where they caught. Sand figures rose and were then destroyed to either side of him as he climbed. He reached the top. Here, he saw the final circle of onlookers, his closest aides, his advisors, the high priest, his family. Azir dropped to his knees. His family was before him, rendered in perfect, heartbreaking detail. His wife, heavy with child, his shy daughter clutching his wife's hand, his son standing tall on the brink of becoming a man. In horror, Azir saw their expressions change. Though he knew what was to come, he could not look away. His daughter hid her face in the folds of his wife's dress. His son reached for his sword, shouting in defiance. His wife, her eyes widened, sorrow and despair writ within. The unseen event blasted them into nothingness. It was too much, but no tears welled in Azir's eyes. His ascended form rendered that simple act of grief forever lost to him. With a heavy heart, he pushed himself to his feet. The question remained as to how his bloodline survived, for it most assuredly had. The final echo awaited. He advanced, halting one step below the dais, and watched as it all played out before him, reenacted in the sand. He saw himself in his mortal form rise up into the air beneath the sun disk, arms wide and back arched. He remembered this moment. The power coursed through him, infusing his being, filling him with its divine strength. A newcomer formed in the sand, his trusted bondsman, his magus, Zareth. His friend uttered a silent word. Azir watched himself shatter like glass, exploding into motes of sand. Zareth, breathed Azir. The traitor's expression was unknowable, but Azir could see nothing but the face of a murderer. Where did such hate come from? Azir had never been aware of it. The sand image of Zareth rose higher into the air as the sun disk's energy focused into his being. A cadre of elite guards rushed toward him, but they were all far too late. A brutal shockwave of sand flared out, disintegrating the final moment of Shurima. Azir stood alone among the dying echoes of his past. This is what killed his people. Azir turned away just as the first rays of the new dawn struck the sun disk overhead. He'd seen enough. The sand image of the transformed Zareth collapsed behind him. The dawn sun reflected blindingly off Azir's flawless golden armor. In that instant he knew that the traitor still lived. He sensed the magus's essence in the air that he breathed. Azir lifted a hand and an army of his elite warriors rose from the sands at the base of the stairs of ascension. Zareth, he said, his voice tinged with rage, your crimes will not go unpunished. And that's all we have for today. Just these two. Figured we would do two again because they were longer, and Bard is next. So let's do 3 when we get to the B. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you again soon for Facts Friday. I hope anybody that is new to my channel or new to my videos will consider checking out my Facts Friday videos. You might guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you don't, give it a thumbs down, I guess.